casting is used everywhere, from fine art to everyday objects. Today, we'll use Plastalina clay to create a one-time use mold and epoxy resin to produce a finished piece. In mold casting, a mold is first made either directly into the clay or by taking an impression of an original object. Then, a liquid casting material such as plaster, clay, molten metals, or resin is poured into the mold. For this lesson, you'll need Plastalina modeling clay, carving tools, Blick Epoxy Resin kit, gloves, disposable cups, stirring sticks, a tray, colorants like alcohol ink and glitter, mold release, a heat tool, and some sandpaper. To make the mold, first use a rolling pin to flatten a piece of clay into a slab approximately 1 inch thick, and place the slab onto a tray. Plastalina clay will not harden or dry, so the mold design can be developed over time if needed, and the clay can even be reused if free of debris. A variety of tools can be used to carve the mold. Ribbon tools are good for removing large amounts of material. Linoleum cutters can create large or small, precise, smooth cuts. Wipeout tools and color shapers are perfect for smoothing out edges. Texture plates or small objects such as jewelry, keys, rope or twine, and other trinkets can be pressed into the clay to add texture or create an exact impression. Keep in mind this is a reverse process. Any mark carved into the clay will protrude when cast in resin. For easy mold removal later, designs should not be undercut, meaning they should not be wider at the base than they are at the opening. If you want the final piece to have a hole for hanging or threading a string or chain through, add a small column of clay into the design where you would like the hole to be in the finished piece. When the design is finished, spray it with Alumilite mold release and conditioner, and then set it aside. Blick Epoxy Resin kits contain 2 bottles, Part A, resin, and Part B, hardener. Mix the resin and hardener in a 1-to-1 ratio. Once mixed, the resin will remain workable for up to 45 minutes. Put on gloves before opening the bottles. Pour the resin and hardener into separate cups first to ensure the amounts are equal. Now, pour the separate cups into a third. Scrape the cup with a craft stick to make sure you get all the resin and hardener into the third cup. Stir the mixture for at least 3 minutes. First, we're going to try pouring glitter directly into our mold. Then, pour resin. Use a toothpick to move the glitter and get the resin into all the corners of the mold. You can also add colorants like alcohol ink directly into the cup of resin and stir with a craft stick to get an all-over effect of color. You can also mix colors by first pouring a solid color into the mold, then drop alcohol ink directly into the mold with the resin. You can let the color move on its own or use a toothpick to spread it around. Layer more resin on top and move the colors. After pouring, remove bubbles with a small heat tool. If you would like the piece to hang, but adding a hole didn't make sense with the design, you can cut a length of clear string or fishing line and lay it on the surface of the wet resin. The resin will be dry to the touch in 6 to 8 hours, 95% cured in 24 hours, and fully cured in 72 hours. Once fully cured, remove the piece from the mold. If you have trouble removing it from the mold, chilling the plastilina can help. Trim off any excess material with scissors if needed, and lightly sand the edges of the piece with a fine grit sandpaper. Finally, rinse it off in warm water. For all your materials and more ideas, visit dickblick.com.